So we welcome one and all for the final session of this 5-day webinar, The Happy Entrepreneur by Mr. Gopalen. Straight from the heart is what I would say, sharing his life experiences, allowing us to soak into it, take a peep into it, absorb whatever we can and take it into our lives. So we really thank Mr. Gopalen, and we hand over the stage to you. Thank you, sir. All yours.
Good evening, all.
Yes, good evening.
Thank you for organizing this, Arul and Uma, and Mr. Vincent for inducing me to do this. So, those who are attending for the first time today, this topic is called the Happy Entrepreneur, and this started with a question from Mr. Vincent asking me to do a session on successful entrepreneur. So I said that success is measured by money, and if you do that, I'm not anywhere in the scene with Ambanis and Shivnadas rolling the roost. So let me say I'm a happy entrepreneur and share how I went through this journey, and I'm still going through it now with all of you. So thank you for coming today. And this is a slide which shows the road I traveled. And today is from Lessons from Others. So all of us are living in a specific ecosystem. We are part of the ecosystem, and we are only shaping it to a very small extent, whereas the effect of the ecosystem on us quite a lot. This ecosystem consists of our family members, our mentors, our employees, suppliers, customers, and approvers, in the sense of some government officials and some inspecting bodies and some unexpected others who walk through our path and shape our journey. So this is a ecosystem approach to considering what entrepreneurship is. This is our last session. There are many unknowns in this journey, and God's hand, also known as streaks of luck and challenges, and challenges inherent in this ecosystem as well. So these also play a role, and the unseen role is the God's hand, and it is luck, and I've had plenty of it. In this last session, let's explore this ecosystem. And as we defined what is traits of an entrepreneur, I just a quick look at this. Like our, the most important in this, I think, is the courage and passion and innovation. All the rest, and social skills, of course, and all the rest are inherent to this. In this journey, it will come automatically, and you have to recognize it and then take hold of it. So, coming to my family, in spite of my crazy working hours, I had a great family life. Here again is the hand of God, luck, played a big role. There were women and 2 girls in my life, my mother and my wife, and my 2 girls, Preeta and Priya. The 2 girls will see me leave at 8 a.m. in the morning. They were just about 5 and 2 at that time. And maybe they'll see me again next day morning, because by the time I come back, they are asleep. Because they have to go to school and stuff like that the next day. So they never complained that I wasn't there. And my entire family didn't complain because of this long hours of work. And they supported me well. And instead of my taking care of them, they took care of me more. And we always spent quality time. In that, the little gaps that were available to us were spent very well. I lived closer to the factory just to make this possible. I did not miss even a single school function or a school event or tutoring them before the class test or exam. Get up early in the morning, come back early that day, the previous evening, sit with them. So they always felt that there was a guide in their life. And my daughters, who are 52 and 49 today, they do not have a single bad memory because there was never a bad moment. I would say I have no bad memory of my home life because of either my mother or my wife. My mother will always say harsh things, but she will always qualify it saying, "Nam arara solluva namma mansha." You know, that means that unless you say it with that kind of effect, that doesn't make sense. And my wife was always supportive and is still today. So this is a family is an external influence on an entrepreneur, and the inner passion should accommodate and receive this external influence. In 1974-75, the business went south. A horrible 2 years. We had to tighten our belts. My family adjusted to these sudden conditions very well. We had other means of support, like there was some small agricultural income. In those days, it was good enough to run a satisfied life rather than be anxious. And my mother managed the finances, as she used to run a big family until 1961, when my father passed away. I mean, we downsized it and we shifted, and so she was a veteran at that. And my children are only 6 and 3. And my wife stopped using the car. You know, as soon as we got married, the first thing I told her is, you learn to drive and be self-sufficient. And I taught her how to drive and got her a license too. So she took care of everything external to the household. Like in those days, getting rations was a big deal. So she will go and get a ration card, whatever. You know, if she had to go to municipality, she will go. So everything was done by herself. She was very conversant with how to deal with the external world. And she stopped using the car, and she went by bus for her personal things because the situation was bad. The carpool was arranged with neighbors and friends, so the children could go, and everybody felt it. I think that was a bad time for everybody. So it was a very welcome change to everybody that we could pool the cars. But the children did not even know that all these things are happening because, you know, we managed it well. And in this period, I worked very hard creating new customers. From just one customer in 1974 January who said that, oh, I've decided to change over to porcelain instead of epoxy castings and fiberglass tubes. We developed 80 customers in these 2 years. So, so that was what the family could do to entrepreneur, and I was a lucky entrepreneur to have had a great family. Same way with mentors. I mean, these are all the players in the ecosystem, we did not discuss. We discussed only the traits of an entrepreneur. I mean, there could be a repeat of persons who walked then and now walk now also. So, yeah, there were many external influences, like I said, and in hindsight, it looks like the qualities inherent made it possible to allow these external influences to play a role. Whenever a hand is extended to you, it is an external event. Grabbing that hand instead of shelving it, you have two options. One is to grab it and another is to shelve it. You grab it because of your social skills that are inherent. If you did not have those social skills, you may have shelved the hand that was extended to you. So, Mr. Venkatraman, Chari, Prabhas Reddy and Sridhar could not have happened otherwise. They reached out and I also reached out. This story may not have happened this way had I not reached out. I think the only rule that governs the social skills is it should be from the heart. It cannot be just a lip service. So it's like what Abe Lincoln said. You can fool some of the people all of the time and all of the people some of the time, but you cannot fool all the people all of the time. So the social skills and sincerity both comes out and help me standing on the shoulders of these giants. It could not have happened otherwise, and I would not have seen Father. Now, ethical approvers, these are, I think we touched upon this yesterday a bit during the last 15 to 20 minutes of the session. How you can be ethical and there is a Lakshman Rekha drawn around you, you draw it yourself. And there is a temptation to go over it, not for unethical reasons. And the ethical reasons made you draw that Lakshman Rekha and you said, okay, I will do whatever I have. I will declare, I will pay, I will not try to take advantage of the other person's greed to make profits on what I should owe the government. But then these people who are the external agents, let us call them ethical approvers in this, and they try to drag you out, and you can see Sita putting out one leg, just a little out of the Lakshman Rekha in this beautiful slide made by my daughter Preeta. And I have another example of what happened in this kind of a situation. Was we had a sales tax audit. They wanted to go through 10 years of records, and we gave them all the records, and they went through it, and they went to the silly extent of even putting sales tax on the interest paid to the bank. So I asked my lawyer, can we go for a writ petition? He said that you cannot, until an injury happens, you cannot go for a remedy. Just because they've asked you, this is not an injury, this is a demand. And if they slap something on you, like a garnishee or something, then we can go to the... It so happened then the demand came in a form of a notice, not a garnishee, luckily, in a form of a notice. So then I said to the lawyer, maybe now you should think of writ. He was not so convinced, But next day he called me and said, yeah, 1 or 2 points in that notice will give room for filing a writ. And so we filed a writ, and promptly the case was thrown back to the department by the court, and it came back to my assessing circle to give an opportunity for us to explain everything. And we ended up getting a refund in the end of this. So we could have gone out of that Lakshman Rekha and succumbed to this pressure and solve the problem, but we took the right path. So we didn't cross the Lakshman Rekha. That's what this cartoon is all about. Now, customers. Now, some of the customers are very loyal. They may not have even been a customer before. They may have been in the course of business, you met somebody, and they ultimately will become a customer. So these are also external agencies. So what attracts them to you is striving for excellence and your analytical skills, your social skills. So these are the traits that attracts them to you, because they visit you, they see that there is things done the proper way, and there is the move towards excellence. And they see your social skills, the way you behave, you talk, and interact with them. So some of the events that happened is GE wanting us to do a capacitor switch. In spite of their being present in China, very much bigger, in a bigger way than in India. And they thought that we are better than the Chinese in the above aspects of excellence, striving for excellence, and our sincerity to work and things like that. And another friend of mine who I met in Wisconsin, David Aho, he used to work with Coopers, and I went there to promote my business, but by the time things could happen, they got taken over by Eaton. And then things quietened down because Eaton's new executives wield more power than the old executives of Cooper. And things were quiet. And once I sent him a drawing of what I thought could be a product that's useful to them, he promptly sent it to a team which worked on this product. And I got a great response. And I had a meeting last year in April with them. And we are very close to completing the prototype, and it's going to be tested in Baroda, Erda in Baroda this month, middle of this month. So Aho, who came into my life as an acquaintance, became a loyal customer later on because of the traits he saw in us. Then we have Marcelo Limas, a Brazilian who came to India some 3-4 years back. He came for an exhibition in Chennai, of all the places. Then it so happened he came to my stall. I was there. Then I asked him, why don't you come to my factory and see what we have? Because he was in the transformer business in Brazil. And he was an entrepreneur. He was the chief executive of the company that he worked for. Then he came and saw the factory and was quite thrilled with it. And he made a plan to meet the next day. So I went there, and he was sitting like a very sick man. So I asked him what happened. He says, my stomach is shocked. And then I called my sister and got some. She lives in Coimbatore. She's the doctor. And he explained to her the symptoms, and she told him to take certain things. I went and got it and gave. Then contacted the hotel doctor and told him to keep an eye. So next day he bounced back, and then he went back to Brazil. Nothing happened for 2-3 years. Then he asked me whether I could do the same kind of product that I do to GE, because there's a company in Brazil which requires it. And today he's my agent. And we traveled last year, April, May, 1,800 kilometers by car, and he drove me all over the place. He fixed 12 meetings in as many days, including a Saturday. He fixed a meeting. Sundays, of course, no. And other 2 days, some days we had 2 meetings. And suppliers, how we engage them and how they reacted to us. Actually, we were looking for porcelain insulator when we developed our breakers in 1990. No big industry would look at us. WS Insulators, which is a Chennai-based company, would not even discuss properly with us. They were very busy exporting and this and that. So our little requirements like, can I have 50 insulators, meant nothing to them. So we were at a difficult crossroads, and we located this company in Kurja, and we went there. They made good porcelain, but they did not make precise porcelain. So I spoke to Mr. Jatia, Mahesh Jatia, who is the owner, and said that I will help them to make this porcelain in a precise way, which can be used in the circuit breakers. Then he agreed, and I sent a fixture made in my factory along with a machinist who went and demonstrated how to grind the 2 faces of the porcelain parallel to each other. And then he started supplying, and he then asked me, can you introduce me to others? Then I called my friend Shukla in BHEL. I told him that there is a good porcelain manufacturer. I use their porcelain. And he said he is hard up for porcelain, and he wants somebody to supply very urgently, because that was getting to be the year end and he was struggling to get the porcelain. So they went to him and they got a huge order and they supplied it. With this, today, even today, Mr. Jatia embarrasses me by telling the story to everybody in my presence, and he treats me a very special family friend also, and comes home whenever he's in this part of the world. And Chinese suppliers, Shanxi Baogang, I think yesterday or so I was talking about the social skills of taking them to the Chinese lunch. So again, they still treat me in a great way, and because we engage them in a very sincere manner, and they reciprocate it even now. And my workforce. When I say workers, it is not just workers, it is my entire company, entire staff and workers. So whenever we worked, it was not all grim and it was fun session. I teach them, I learn from them, and there's a lot of spontaneity. Like Veera Raghavan, who I mentioned yesterday, how we suggested a very small thing, which is still totally out of the engineering books, but it worked. So such kind of interaction, people felt comfortable and to do this kind of interaction, and we were able to manage. So food will be ordered in the evening when we are staying back. All of us will sit in the same place and eat and talk. So generally, I spoke about Armugam, who did not shave, and today I have managers like Venkatesh, Padmanabhan, Rajendran, Mani. They're all guys who grew up in this company, who have come to the thing. I don't go to the office. In the last 3 months, I've been there 5 times. And they manage the company. They tell me not to come. And they are so committed. And they happen to me in this life. That, they walk in my ecosystem and hold up my life to be a happy one again. Actually, this Venkatesh, who I was talking about, is my R&D guy. He's a wonder kid, actually. He heads the team. Whatever I discuss, it comes with 2-3 solutions the next day. This is the most unexpected teacher that I ever had. He's a milkman. My first Northeast monsoon in Chennai was in mid-October of 1964. That's the year I started working with Enfield India. And in Coimbatore, you don't have this kind of big rains. I'm from Coimbatore. I lived there all my life. And when I was 20 and a half, I came to Chennai and started working on July 31st, 1964. And this was mid of first monsoon. There was thunder, lightning, and I was living in Mylapore in a nice little house, an independent house with 4 rooms, me and my mother. And I was thinking, I'm only a graduate trainee. Why should I go today? Nobody will miss me. And what is there? And I just go stand around, my legs pain, and I curse myself for having joined a job like this. No, I was thinking all this. Then I heard this milkman shout, "Amma Pal." So I looked through the window. I saw this guy already wearing his raincoat or sack or whatever that he had on his head. And he was already milking the buffalo. So he was a very cantankerous guy. In normal days, when you see him, he will argue, he will fight, and my mother will fight back. It was a great sport for them to do this. But this guy was coming and at 4:30 in the morning, he was milking in this hard rain. He could have come at 8 o'clock and nobody would have asked him why, excepting, they would be angry that they didn't have their coffee. But this guy was there. So I have to catch my bus at 5:15 and go to Tiruvattriyur, changing another bus at Tandiyarpet. Because I was a graduate trainee, I didn't get the staff bus. I said, if this man can have this responsibility to do what he's doing, I am an educated person. And I shouldn't be here trying to say bunk today because there's a little rain. So I got up, got ready, went and caught my bus and was there in the office at exact time that I should report. So this is the, also he walked my ecosystem and taught me most important lessons when I was a very young person. So here is something I added last moment. So Gopal said it then and also now. It says success is measure decided by others. Satisfaction is a measure decided by you. This is what we started the session with. Am I a successful entrepreneur? I said no. If you measure this in other ways that people measure. I am only a happy entrepreneur. And this, I would like to end my session with this last pearl of wisdom. Here, this is, you heard something like what I said now. And now what I'm going to say now is also something similar. Life is easy if you take the right attitude. It is impossible if you are unsatisfied. Make room for others in your space and you will see the space expands like the expanding universe. So this, my daughters, if I had said it in the past, like they were like 10 and 13 or something, they will come and cup their hands against my chin and say they are catching the pearls of wisdom. So how we laughed. Thank you.
Mr. Gopalen, great. I must say, very great. And the last one, the Gopal said it then and also now, extremely great, wonderful. And you talked about the family as the first factor in the environment. How true it is. I can also feel the same way. I was more of a workaholic than probably you. And I used to work for extended hours as if that's only life. But my whole life, my children, everybody was looked after by my wife. And that's how it was possible for me to succeed. And you rightly pointed out, great, kudos to you, salute to you, Mr. Gopalen. And every slide and every aspect that you mentioned, and the unexpected teacher, ethical approvers, everything amazingly awesome, super.
The titles were designed by Preeta.
Yeah.
The content was mine. She read my content and made up the cartoon and the titles. The 50% of this presentation is because of her.
So the family support continues. Good. Great.
There's a question. I'm picking some questions that are coming. Question is from Dr. Ajay Kumar. Thank you for sharing your wonderful insights and experiences. I have two questions. What was your initial investment, maybe in 1960 to 70 as an entrepreneur? Second, usually the department officials can make a lot of havoc in the life of an entrepreneur. Usually we will tell that an ordinary police officer with a tahsildar or a village officer can make your life miserable. Whether you had any experiences like that?
Well, first question is easy. We had 10,000 rupees as capital each, and four of us invested for 10,000. And after a year and a half, we invested 650 each and closed all our debt. And we ran out of the capital. And then we went to a bank and we started a new life, making engineering products from then. And that was again a very meager capital. And we kept investing back whatever profits that we made. We invested substantial portions of it back. Coming to your second question of, yes, several times yes. You know, you have to fight it. See, for example, when I bought a unit, it was 11 lakhs of rupees according to the price that the person who wanted to sell it asked. And I agreed. So we made a document and we submitted it to the appropriates authority. You know, in the old days, if you're going to buy a property, first you have to tell the appropriate authority that I'm buying it for this price. And they have to approve it. There's a central government income tax wing. And they approved it. They came, inspected it, and approved it. Then we went for registration, and there was not 1 rupee paid as black money in this whole transaction. And I went to the registrar. The registrar looked at it and said in the Ambattur estate, Ambattur township, he said, no, there was 1 cent or 2 cents sold at this price. So according to this, you'll have to pay 16 lakhs for this property. so I'm going to charge you extra. So I said, are you a bigger authority than the appropriate authority? If so, give it me in writing. I will tell the appropriate authority this. No, he said, no, you do whatever you want. I'm going to send this document to collector of stamps. He will decide that. So he went to collector of stamps, and my brother-in-law, my wife's cousin, he knew a lot of IAS officers. So I went and asked him, hey, can you do something about it? Then he put me on to one IAS officer called Selvaraj, and I told him the story, and he believed me 100%. And then he wrote a small note to the deputy collector of stamp and said, help, please help. That's all. So I went. Then he heard me, and he said, okay, I'm approving your value. Can you give me 3,000 rupee flat day contribution? I will give you a receipt. I said, okay, immediately done. So this is one of the experiences. So I try to fight with influence, with court, like I did with the sales tax people. I try to fight. I went and refused to pay money to my minister, and then I went up, and probably it reached the CM, and she looked at saying, why are we tormenting small industries or something like that, and we got scot-free. No, that played a role, and perseverance like this also played a role. So I hope I answered the question.
Yes.
Sir, good evening.
There is another. Yeah, Ruben, go ahead.
Yes, I would like to say a few words. So I've been attending your sessions for the last many days. Probably I would have missed one day. I think it was yesterday. All along, what I realized and what I come to know, your sense of self-belief, integrity, spontaneity, all these things, primary basic attributes were phenomenal. Your ecosystem, it was, and it is still, I think it is complete, what the management schools around the world, they might want to, or they are talking about this in different phrases and terminologies. This is what I realized. ரொம்ப அழகான ஒரு செய்தி என்னன்னா, whatever you had taught us, whatever you had imparted, it was some kind of a journey, a film that we are seeing. Your storytelling was phenomenal. And most interesting, I remember some of the earlier sessions when certain participants, when they ask you for certain questions, for you to respond, you start off by saying, I don't know. And that was a huge paradox, is what I'm coming to say. And later on, you come out with your maxims or your solutions or the way you have addressed it. That is something nice. And you also had the childlike humility to say, I don't know, which wasn't the truth per se. Okay, and just ஒரு கேள்விதான் எனக்கு இருக்குது. In all your entrepreneurial journey, did you pay good respect to processes and procedures? This is what I would like to know.
Yes. Initially, when you're very small, you have a small group of people only. So you don't go create a great documentation and particularly when you're doing other people's products, because that comes with some kind of a requirement, a spec and things like that, what is to be tested and test reports, format, everything. So in a way, we were, without even knowing that there is another world which has all this in place. So we had it in place because we were working with multinationals like Siemens, like ABB, like GEC. GEC was a great learning because Bhaskar Sen, he is a good friend of mine. Even this morning I was speaking to him. He was, maybe Vincent will know, PK Gupta was his boss also, I think.
Yes,
PK Gupta,
yes.
He was in GEC 90 and I had met PK Gupta, and Bhaskar Sen used to work under him, and so PK Gupta respected Bhaskar Sen very much. And he was just a 5 feet tall, like from 55 kg kind of an individual. So, but a remarkable person. And even today morning I was speaking to him. we continue to keep in touch. So he was the person who gave me a lot of insight into, he's also a mechanical engineer, but working in an electrical company. So he gave me a lot of insight by introducing me to the R&D guys and things like that there. And so we had a great session and a lot of learning. So like to answer your question, so all this got into place in a kind of an unplanned manner and not in a planned manner. So when Dr. Sridhar came into our lives in 1974, and we developed the fiberglass cylinder, he said we should write down the manufacturing of what you did.
Procedures.
Because it passed. Because it passed. You know, in 1974, what was ISO 9000? Who knew anything about it? Nobody knew anything about it. And in fact, I'll come to my favorite story on ISO 9000. So we wrote down what we did about the fiberglass cylinder, how we went about it, what temperature was the resin, what was the curing temperature, so that whatever we did, if we repeat it, this is bound to pass. You know, that was the thing, and instead of experimenting, because it's too big a product. If that fails, the whole city is without power. That kind of a product it is. So coming back to my story of ISO 9000, which is what you are trying to ask, is first, the American criticism of ISO 9000 was, you can make a life jacket with concrete using ISO 9000. You can write a ISO 9000 for making life jacket with concrete. So what will that life jacket do? It will sink you.
Okay.
But nevertheless, you can write ISO 9000, which will look beautiful. You know? So later on, people decided that the use should be incorporated, not just the process. And first the use should be defined, and what are the requisites for the use, and how it should be built into the process, so that the final product will serve in real life, not in some kind of a paper. So then in 1974, we started doing this. In 1983, when Dr. Sridhar started interacting for the manufacture of touch changer, we did write down everything properly. And again, this was not ISO 9000. So when we went in for ISO 9000 in 1994, 5, something like that, then we already had documentation, which we just put numbers on for the ISO process and modified it. And so of course, there are any number of consultants who will come and tell you how to write ISO and how to qualify for ISO. They will train you to get an ISO certification. Then later on, Mr. Shukla joined us. Mr. Shukla is a kind of a management guru in BHEL. So he also a great friend from 1974. He joined me in 2008. Soon, the day he retired today, and tomorrow he joined me. That's the transition that he had. So he perfected all these systems because he created a excellence for management team in BHEL, which was adopted throughout BHEL. And I was fortunate to have him come and join us. So he created a lot of systems, which were too much of a system for the size of my company. So I used to tell him, Shukla, you're killing us with this. You know? So, and he used to laugh. Well, of course, you want to show this to the white man, you have to have all this. I said, fine, showing is one thing, but, killing ourselves for this is another thing. Because of all this, my development time is increased from 6 months to 1 year or 1.5 years. I have to follow every letter, and otherwise you will take me to task. So this kind of tussle was going on this. So I'm saying I have answered your question, I think.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, Nandri.
There's another question on the chat. I'm not getting the person's name. I was blessed to work with Mr. P.V. Mahadevan, TVS Brakes India Limited Party, 1996, who was ex-Enfield legend like you. The question is your observation on changing dynamics of work from 1970s to 2020s now.
Mahadevan is a very dear friend. even today we keep in touch. No, not today means not today. No, we keep in touch regularly. Whenever in the old days, when I think of him, he will come. Something like a telepathic friendship that we had. Mahadevan was the guy who was working in this sick unit in before I was posted there, because he had to be posted back to planning. He was loaned from planning here. He was working like morning till night again, like me before, but he didn't have the kind of luck I had. The problems got solved because I spoke to Venkatraman. He said something. I went and did that. It solved one, and speak to somebody else. They say something. The thing is, my mine was talking my problems out to many people. So some kind of help will come somewhere, and we apply it in reality. Mahadevan had this horrible boss, who was my boss also later on, who tortured him and tormented him. And Mahadevan probably, he's a very, very nice guy. TVS, he's probably senior to me. I'm 76, he must be 77 or 78 even. They won't let him go. Brakes India won't let him go. They keep on giving me extensions. He's still the chief technical director for them in Brakes India. So what has changed between 1970 and now is a lot of systems. There's a lot of data. At the touch of your mouse, you get data on the screen, which we had to probably kill ourselves to get. This helps a lot. So there's such a lot of information, and machinery has changed completely. What is all manual work is today CNC. Nobody, maybe, we work still with lathes and milling machines. And we also have CNCs. But a lot of people only believe in CNC. They have nothing else other than CNCs. So a lot of processes have changed. So instead of taking something and making a forging and welding head, there is cold heading and things like that, which is come into vogue even longer, like even 20, 25 years back. So lots have changed between the 1970s and today. I'm not, I used to be a reference point for machine shop in the old days. Today I know nothing of the modern machining practices. Like, I know nothing of CNC. I've never been bothered to learn about CNC. I wanted to learn programming. Then I realized that if I do that, I won't do anything else. So I stopped doing it. I did not learn CAD. So I think I did the wise thing by not doing all that. So I really don't know whether I've answered this question, because as I said, things have changed a lot today. For me, in the field that he is referring to, I can't even comment properly on that.
While at the same time, you enjoyed the status of being a benchmark for excellence.
I don't know that.
True. Well said, Ruben.
So, you tell somebody who knows how to do it. At one point of time, you must realize that there are certain things you can't do and you don't want to do. For example, I didn't want to learn CAD. I didn't want to learn programming. So I had better things to do, I thought. So like man management and innovation, thinking designs, so even a hand sketch will help my designers to work. And we discuss, I oversee that. I say, change this, draw this line, draw that line. So I sit there, they do that. So one need not know, but I don't know whether that question has been correctly answered or not. The long and the short of it, I knew what happened in 1970s, but the same field today, I don't know. The machines do it, the programs do it. Whether you need that kind of skill to do it or not, I don't know.
Couple of more on the chat. So one is an appreciation, inspiring session, well articulated in a simple and easy to understand format, useful tips to emulate if you are an entrepreneur or aspire to be an entrepreneur. There's a question from Sudha. How do you comment on your competitors in your field? And how were you motivated to sustain in spite of all odds and reach out and keep up the value and keep up the values and ethics?
Yeah, the first product that we did and went to the market was on-load tap changer. Fortunately for me, only 2 other companies were in the run. That's probably one of the reasons we chose, because it's a niche market product and there is a lot of entry barrier to this product. When I say entry barrier, this goes into a very expensive part. So unless you have a name, you have a known history of things, you can't sell to that market. What can go wrong is a city can go dark, a whole transformer can go bust, with cost 30 to 60 lakhs, or even sometimes 2 crores. So you have a kind of an entry barrier because of these reasons, and also the technology itself is difficult. Fortunately, Dr. Sridhar was the creator of this technology in our company, and we could do this with ease. The competition at that time was one Crompton Greaves and CTR. Both these companies were in existence much before us, and Crompton did it mostly for their own use because they were a transformer manufacturing company, and CTR was catering to the rest of the market. The total demand was 350 or so in that year, 1980. So when we entered and we made this thing, marketing was tough. We went and met all the people. Fortunately, we were also supplying to transformer industries, the insulation and things like that. So we knew everybody, but there was a lot of faith or confidence that this company is good. But then there's a hesitation. How can I put this product into a big transformer? So there was always a dilemma for the company to do this. Fortunately, one man, we call him, today also we call him God. Mr. Ramaswamy was the chief engineer in a company called Electra in Meerut. So he decided that he wanted a 9-position tap changer and nobody had a 9-position tap changer. So we made that 9-position tap changer just for him. And he used it in a job, 50 numbers. He gave us an order with advance. He is also old colleague of Dr. Sridhar, and one of his assistants, another Mr. Ramaswamy, was also a partner in this company with us. Because he knew the transformer industry, he joined us in 1990, 1983. So we got this order in 1985 and we executed it, and then there was no turning back. People thought that these 50 transformers have been sold to Uttar Pradesh Electricity Board. They're commissioned, working, so we could get all that paper and show everybody, and we started marketing. So it is very difficult to get into a niche market product, very difficult to get into a product with an entry barrier. So once you get in, the normal problems of competition are not there. So it is how quickly you deliver, what is your price, what is your quality. This is only one other person to compare. So it makes life easier. So the choice of our product helped us to overcome these barriers. It is going to be very difficult if you're in a general market. You want to make a shirt, you go to the market, you have to compete with maybe 100 brands. So I don't even know that trade. I don't even know that game. So I can't tell you how to do that.
Okay. So there are a few more questions. We're at 7:25. So yeah, we'll see how many we can answer. Question from Hema Kumar. You have mentioned about the employees who aligned with the organization goals and objectives. How about an employee who has not aligned with your organization objectives? How did you make them to be aligned with your organization, or you will show the door? Or will you show the door?
No, you know, the technology that we use is not available anywhere. That means I can't get trained help. Like anybody who knows how to assemble a tap changer, there's nobody, because they are all already working. It's a selected group, and those people are specialists there. So they are reasonably treated well, and they are happy to work there. And moreover, these companies are in Maharashtra. So if I want to pinch somebody from there, person making a change from Maharashtra to Chennai, it's very difficult in those days, because it was still considered a village kind of place, and food was another big issue. These are all psychological barriers to get a trained person. So you have to train your own person. So here is the luck again, is that you take fresh people and you start training them. And they see you as a guru, they see you as a teacher, and they see you as a benefactor also, because you are living with them on the shop floor. Because there is a selfish motive that you have to have other people doing this rather than you yourself do it. But that selfish motive is getting you to train the people, also be like a elder figure to them, and create that kind of camaraderie and respect and things like that. So most of the times we had people who towed the line very nicely, because they are young to start with, and they sort of worship you in a short time. So we didn't have much of this problem, but then people become ambitious at a later date. Somebody said, I will go and make a tap changer myself. After all, I know the market, I know the people who are buying this in the transformer companies. So I will go and make a tap changer and try to sell it to those people. Few tried, in fact. They stole some drawings, they went and tried, but it didn't work out. So we didn't have to show the door. They themselves thought that they will go and do it. There are more capable people today in my company who can go and do this. But they all realize today testing is a big barrier. The test costs 1 crore of rupees. So people want to start small and do it is difficult. So they will have to find a person like an investor. So people don't invest based on somebody generally who said that I've stole some drawings and came. I can't. I mean, this kind of things, people today hesitate to get into that kind of a situation. So we do have people who wanted to do, and they themselves left. And I don't know if I sacked anybody for any reason other than theft and misbehaving with women. For no other reason, I think I've sacked people. In this 53 years of running a business, I can count maybe 4 or 5 people I've sacked.
Cool. Okay. So a couple of more questions are there. Loved all your sessions. I have a question. Can you maybe I'll read a couple of questions, Mr. Gopalan, because we are nearing 7:30. Maybe you could pick it together. Loved all your sessions. I have a question. Can you suggest some strategies to be adopted by an entrepreneur during crisis? So strategies to be adopted during crisis is one question. So why don't you write a book which will be helpful for startups? Okay. So I'll read another question. Hello, sir. I'm Lakshmi Shri, second year college student. Thank you so much, Mr. Gopalan, sir, for sharing your story and your experience with us. It was so inspiring. And I learned so many lessons which I couldn't discover in my study books. Okay. Any other questions are there? So we can pick it all together. you gave new dimension and real-time experience on how to be an happy entrepreneur, priceless. Okay. So looks like there's only one question.
How to
Yeah,
handle
there's
crisis.
only one question. That's it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Go ahead.
How to handle crisis is like any other crisis. It's not business crisis is not any different from any other crisis. You have to first face it squarely in the face. Second thing, understand what exactly is the crisis. Is there a way out? What is the worst that crisis can do to you? If you can put a story to that, then your fear factor will come down. Like, oh, this is all, is it? Okay, I'll lose my money. Okay, fine. Nothing else, fine. So, if you can understand the end result of that that crisis, it will give you 50% solution. Second is, ask advice from your family. Ask advice from your friends and well-wishers. Don't panic. That's the only thing I'll say. Don't panic. Think deeply about the problem. Solutions will come. So there's no one cure to this disease. It depends on what exactly is the problem and how much you are equipped to deal with it. The worst case is to close down. That is also an alternative available. See how it will affect you. That is the last alternative. But to solve the problem and go ahead, you have to analyze it a little more and discuss it a little more. The main thing to handle a crisis is don't panic. That's the only thing I can tell you. Don't panic. Face it bravely and think. Sit down and think. Write down if you want to write down something and play ping pong with yourself. Like, can I do this? Go the other side and hit the ball. Come this side and hit the ball. Then you will get a solution.
Thank you, Mr. Gopalan. I guess all good things need to come to an end. So I think it's time to wind up this 5-day series. Thank you so much. And we also thank your family. I guess your daughters have been behind this PowerPoint as well, in many different ways. So we thank you a lot. Really, really awesome learning experience for all of us. Thank you so much, and thanks everybody for joining in as well.
Forthcoming webinar.
Yes, the forthcoming webinar is on human resources. It's on 8, 9, 10 July. You could mail training@peoplefirst.co.in. We look into culture, we look at employee engagement, and we look at human resource analytics. We would be doing 1 or 2 posts that we are connecting with somebody on finance. Once we get that organized, we will keep you posted as well. Any last words, Mr. Gopalan, as we say?
Thank you for this wonderful opportunity to share my life story, which incidentally is only business. I've been living this, and it's a great opportunity to have shared this. And I'm happy it is benefiting some people. People are taking some lessons from it. And I'm sure that any one of you can live a life like this if you want. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
I think, Mr. Gopalan, you must take it up as you're a living encyclopedia. So I think you should take the position of a management guru. You must write a book. You must go to colleges and teach the students. I think it will be worthwhile. You need to share this knowledge with a lot of people. You've got a lot of stuff.
So why don't you collaborate? I'm a lazy guy, You collaborate with me. we will do it.
Okay.
No, I mean, I'm serious. We will do it.
Done. We will
Okay.
see what
Good.
emerges, Mr. Gopalen. Yes.
Yeah.
Done.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Yes.
Thank you very
Bye-bye.
much, sir.
See
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Gopalan sir. Thank you, Mr. Arul.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Most welcome. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Gopalan sir, and thank you so much, Arul sir. We are
Thank you
very,
so much.
expecting to attend a lot of sessions like this. Please do tell us if you are doing any other sessions like this in future
Will do.
in entrepreneurship maybe.
Done.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Gopalan sir. Romba nandri, mikka nandri. Thank you very much. You could first
Ruben, I should meet you sometimes. And all this COVID stuff is going out.
We will meet, sir. Destiny will take us there.
I've been watching your contributions to various sessions.
No, நம்ம கொங்கு நாட்டு மண்ணு உள்ள ஆள் தான்.
அதெல்லாம் ஒண்ணும் இல்ல.
I must-
Right?